Our city fosters passionate debate better than most communities. In fact, having opposing views up here has led to better process and better results in the past. The Council faces an important decision in this motion. Our action will have serious consequences and will send an important message to the people of Olympia about how this Council does or doesn't do its job. Productive, thoughtful, reasoned debate is the basis of our democracy. Unfortunately, I believe as mayor that a loosely formed group of activists with an even looser connection to the truth has hijacked the thoughtful process leading to the cleanup under the 4th Avenue Bridge. This was a process that we directed staff to pursue, which they have done with great professionalism. They have treated everyone with respect and compassion. Colin earlier stated the timeline of the events that got us to this point. This process was no surprise to the Council, as we've been getting updates regularly all summer. What is surprising to me is this 11th hour pivot. Tonight, if a majority of Council members vote to reverse themselves, we will do a disservice to not only ourselves and our staff, but more importantly to the people of Olympia. Our residents have voted numerous times to tax themselves through the home fund of the public safety measure to provide a whole continuum of services to address homelessness, from the street to a home. And I know you're frustrated, I am too, but here we are with these programs finally all up and running, finally. For a city our size, like Colin said, we're doing amazing work setting in motion all these homeless response plans. We're regularly held up across the state and now regionally as a leader in our continuum of care model. We have an obligation to our community to follow through on that work. This effort has been months in the making, and we've been able to get the population under the bridge encampment down to a point where it's possible finally to accommodate them in our remaining existing shelter system. We were this close. So you talk about respect and accountability. Well, that's a two-way street. You demand respect and you demand dignity, but that's a two-way street. We need it back as a community. Councilmember partially spoke about the collective trauma that we're in. That's a two-way street too. And we're conflating as well a lot of behaviors that aren't related to homelessness. They're just bad behaviors. And so I don't want to demonize the homeless population in our community. They're not all bad people. There are other people out there that are exploiting those homeless people. It's really about behaviors. So all of us, no matter our age, gender, income, or ability, deserve to be treated with respect and to be accountable for our actions. I visited the camp last Friday, and I believe the current campers are still there because they refuse to move into a managed situation because they've been emboldened to refuse services by the very people who pretend to have their best interests in mind. If this motion passes, we'll be caving into the demands of a vocal minority that does not represent the best interests of this city. And we will be setting ourselves up for more of these tactics whenever this group or others don't get its way. You don't reward a toddler in the candy aisle for throwing a fit. It's not governance. It's not even compassion. I know these comments. I make these comments knowing that some of the people in this room know of someone or were themselves in my front yard last year with masked faces screaming obscenities at me, littering the blocks around my house with a flyer showing an arrow through my head and blood coming out of my mouth. It was an attempt to quiet me, but I think my comments tonight show that I'm not going to be quiet. What those masked bullies really did, though, was terrorize my neighbors, including an autistic young man who is still fearful that they're going to be back. That's not democracy, that's domestic terrorism. I also make these comments knowing that there's someone in this room who incited a man to come into chambers and shove paperwork on my chest, resulting in a misdemeanor assault charge to which he later pled guilty. I know I'm vulnerable to these tactics in this chamber every Tuesday. I know I'm vulnerable walking to my car tonight, but I will continue to speak up for the community at large. The people of Olympia elected us to provide leadership for the greater good of the whole community, and I don't intend to relinquish that responsibility, and I'll be voting against this motion tonight.